Dear brothers and sisters, peace in the Lord. Today we continue our journey through the life of Abraham, a journey of faith, struggle, and grace. Each chapter reveals more of God's heart and invites us to examine our own. Abraham's story isn't just history. It's a mirror, a challenge, and a comfort for anyone who has ever wrestled with trusting God in the dark. And in today's reading, we face one of the most soul-piercing moments yet, when Abraham is asked to let go of someone he dearly loves. What if letting go is the only way forward? It's not a question we ask when life is comfortable, but when our hearts are tied to something we love, something we thought was part of God's blessing, and suddenly we feel Him asking us to let it go. That's when the real test begins. Today we turn to one of the most heartbreaking moments in Abraham's journey, a moment not often talked about as much as the mountain of sacrifice, but no less important. This is chapter 19 of the book Abraham, or the Obedience of Faith, and its title is Hagar and Ishmael Cast Out. Even if you were hearing this story for the very first time, you would still feel it coming. Something is shifting. A major spiritual turning point is near, because before God calls Abraham to lay Isaac on the altar, He calls him to release something else first, his bondwoman Hagar, and his firstborn son, Ishmael. This is more than a family conflict. This is soul surgery. This is God preparing Abraham's heart for something greater than even Abraham could imagine. Let's walk through it together. Isaac has just been born. The promise of God finally fulfilled after decades of waiting. Sarah's laughter now rings with joy instead of disbelief. Abraham holds the miracle in his arms. But joy doesn't mean the journey is over. God sees deeper into Abraham's heart. There's still something clinging inside, something that will subtly weaken Abraham's faith if it remains. And so God begins to remove it, not gently, but like a refiner's fire. You see, Abraham had long lived with a quiet agreement, an arrangement that once seemed practical, but had never been part of God's perfect plan. His relationship with Hagar, and his son by her, Ishmael. Maybe Abraham held on to a kind of fallback security. If anything happens to Isaac, I still have Ishmael. Maybe there was an emotional attachment. After all, Ishmael was his son, his first son. Or maybe, just maybe, there was a hidden satisfaction in the idea that his own plan had worked, at least partially. But God wanted more than a servant. He wanted a friend, and friends walk with undivided hearts, so He let the conflict rise. Genesis chapter 21 verse 8 tells us this: "The child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the day that Isaac was weaned." A joyful moment, a celebration of life, of promise, of fulfillment. But beneath the laughter, a shadow stirs. Sarah sees Ishmael mocking Isaac, and it's not innocent teasing. It's the bitterness of a boy who has lost his place, once the heir, now the outsider. And something in Sarah snaps. The old wound, the one from years ago when Hagar mocked her when she fled to the desert, comes tearing open. Her words are sharp. Genesis chapter 21 verse 10 says, "Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac." To Sarah it's clear, Ishmael can't stay. Two promises cannot share one tent. But to Abraham, it's not that simple. Verse 11 tells us, "The thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son." This was heartbreak, not confusion. He knew what God was doing. But pain, deep pain. We often admire Abraham's faith. We quote it, we teach about it. We want faith that moves mountains and believes the impossible. But are we willing to pay the price? Great faith is not built on comfort. It is formed in suffering. It is shaped in the moments when God takes away everything we once leaned on, until we are left holding only Him. The words in Genesis chapter 21 verse 12 come gently but firmly. "Let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, and because of thy bondwoman. In all that Sarah hath said unto thee, hearken unto her voice." God was saying, I know it hurts, but you must let go. And so in the quiet of the early dawn, Abraham did what must have felt unbearable. He took bread and a bottle of water and gave it to Hagar. He may have kissed Ishmael goodbye. But the scripture doesn't describe it. Some griefs are too sacred for words. Some tears are wept only before God. Abraham let them go. And with that, another weight fell away from his heart. Another idol, this time a beloved one, was laid down, and he took one step closer to becoming the man who could walk up Mount Moriah and say, "Here I am." But the story doesn't end in sorrow. Hagar wanders into the desert, lost, her water gone. She places Ishmael under a bush and walks away, not wanting to watch him die. But then, the angel of God appears. He says in Genesis chapter 21, verse 17, "Fear not, for God hath heard the voice of the lad where he is." And he opens her eyes, and she sees a well of water. Ishmael lives, and not only lives, he grows up strong. He becomes the father of a nation. Had he remained in Abraham's household, he would never have become who he was meant to be. What broke Abraham's heart turned out to be God's mercy. This is the chapter before the mountain, before the command to sacrifice Isaac. But already we see God was preparing his friend, stripping away every false refuge, every plan B, until nothing remained but God himself. Why? Because pure faith, faith that has been tested and refined, is the highest honor a human soul can give to God. As the author of the book writes, some flowers take 100 years to bloom, and God, the master gardener, counts it worth all his patient, loving care if a life finally blossoms into one single act of complete trust, an act that will inspire courage and faith for all time. So, dear friend, what if letting go is the only way forward? What if the things you feel God is removing are not punishments, but preparations? Will you trust him, even when it hurts? Will you believe that his pruning hand is love and his timing never late? He is leading you towards something greater, something that may ask for your full surrender, but will give you something no one can take away: unshakable faith, joy that lasts, and laughter born of promise. This reading was based on Abraham, or The Obedience of Faith, written by F.B. Meyer. Today's reflections came from chapter 19, Hagar and Ishmael Cast Out. We invite you to read this book with us, one chapter a day, discovering the deep lessons of faith and surrender through Abraham's journey. If today's video spoke to you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Click the bell icon so you won't miss tomorrow's reading. Let's walk this journey of faith together, step by step, day by day. We'll see you next time.